Well, Adrian Brown has been reporting on China and Hong Kong for 30 years and joins us now. Adrian, you covered the handover in 1997. People were excited about the prospect, but today in Hong Kong, Chinese flags are being desecrated. Where did it all go wrong?
You're absolutely right. On July the 1st, 1997, I remember standing in the street watching people cheer, waving red flags as Chinese troops arrived in Hong Kong. There was real excitement that Hong Kong was now part of the motherland, that Hong Kong was going to have a really bright future because it had been promised so much. It was going to be this exclusive region of China, and there was real optimism that the one country, two systems formula agreed between Britain and China was going to work. But then after about 6 years, come 2003, things started to go wrong. That was when the local government decided to push through a sedition bill. That brought 500,000 people onto the streets. A few years later, the government tried to push through a new education bill that would promote patriotic education. And then fast forward to 2014, and we have the National People's Congress in Beijing, China's parliament, ruling that yes, Hong Kong can have universal suffrage, but China would vet the candidates. That, of course, brought thousands of people onto the streets for the Occupy movement. And these, in many ways, the people you see on the streets today, the students are the same people that were there in Occupy in 2014, but came to the conclusion that actually peaceful protest doesn't work. So they have decided to resort to more violent means. And you know, what we're seeing is much more intense violence with no sign of that violence ending. So, yes, you know, we have come from a period when there was great excitement about being part of the motherland to a period now where many people in Hong Kong are rejecting that.
Adrian, would you say this is an inherent tension within this one China, two systems, or was it always doomed to failure?
I think, you know, we can establish now, I think, that, you know, I remember thinking at the time in 1997, I'll be really surprised if this works. There's so much that can go wrong. We were taking China at its word. And, you know, China, at the end of the day, was a communist country. It remains a communist country, but was being expected to tolerate this sort of thing on its doorstep, democracy. It was always going to be a tough call. And I think the strains of that have now become very, very apparent. And so, you know, a big question mark remains, can one country, two systems work? I think, you know, that is all going to become clear, really, in the days and weeks ahead. You know, we are in for, you know, what is going to be a very, very tense period after October the 1st. And I think it's what happens after October the 1st that's going to be very telling, because everything in the last few days and weeks has been building up to this moment. And here we are in Causeway Bay, where the protesters that were behind Sarah not long ago are now making their way towards Causeway Bay on the eastern side of Hong Kong Island. Now, today we have seen, you know, plenty of violence. We have had, you know, live rounds used once more. So the violence is becoming much more intense, and much more sporadic, much more widespread.
OK, Adrian Brown, things do seem to be heating up behind you. We'll let you get back to it there in Hong Kong. But thanks very much for bringing us some context to this unfolding situation.